Alright, hello. Today we're taking a look at some of the new Arcane combinations that have become extremely effective after I found something. But what I'm gonna say is that it is extremely effective, but it's not something to be as disruptive as melee influence. But it's an amazing alternative to melee influence that can yield fantastic results. So, in order to showcase this, I'm gonna go to Simulacrum and I am gonna show you probably the best example of how you can use this, because it does take a bit of setup to be used and it does take a bit of explaining to understand why it is very good and why you should consider using this, because this is an incredible combination in general. So the combination itself is gonna be Arcane Circumvent and Melee Careen. So Arcane Circumvent, if you haven't seen the Arcane itself, is this one. When you roll through enemies, you steal 50% of their defenses for yourself. Stolen armor lasts 15 seconds. So this has a max value. The stolen armor can be capped at 1000. The stolen shields have no cap, but your Warframe obviously has a cap on how many shields they can get from Overshield. And the Overguard, I think, is 10,000, 10 times more than the armor, which is pretty fine. So this is not really the Arcane's purpose to... Although the defenses are nice, it has pretty much built-in shield gating, built-in overguard gating. It is really nice, and especially against those Eximus units, this is an amazing Arcane to use. But when it comes to abusing it with Melee Careen, so Melee Careen, it says when you roll, you freeze enemies on a 5.5 meter radius with a 2-second cooldown, and you also gain 2.5 melee damage against the frozen enemies. So before we do anything, I want to focus on Melee Careen a little bit. So we'll take the Stunned Livia that has Prime Smite Gunir and a Melee Elementalist mode with Melee Careen. And we're gonna take a Wisp that has Roar just for the extra damage. So Melee Careen, I gotta get rid of my cat. So Melee Careen, you will find out that the 2.5 damage multiplication works similarly to Garuda's passive. This means that it's independent of Roar or Bane modes or the Elementalist modes, and it's a final multiplier that works after everything, literally everything. So I will spawn in one normal heavy gunner so we can see our damage. So if I go and I hit this guy with a heavy attack from my Tenant Livia, he takes 11,121 damage with 1 slash book. So I'm gonna do that again, but this time I'm gonna dash through him. I think it's because it critted, so I'm gonna do it again because the crit did up the value anyway, but there we go. So now 11,121. And we dash through and we get 27,802. This means that not only does Melee Careen freezes them, increasing your crit damage through cold procs, it also makes it so that the enemies take more damage from damage over time effects. Now, you may think, well, if you're using something like the Tenant Livia and you use the heavy attack which flings them onto the air, it is far better to use Afflictions, right? Correct. Yes, that is 100% true. However, this has enabled a beloved damage type of melee weapons to surface back into existence, and that is gas. Gas damage and grouping tools with this is absolutely incredible. And the grouping tools have many forms. You have a lot of grouping tools in this game. From Magus Anomaly on Operators, in case you don't know what it is. I'm gonna type it, and you can see on Transferencing, enemies are pulled within 30 meters towards Warframe. Then you have, of course, the Verglass, which is really good. Or, sorry, not the Verglass, that's the weapon, the Nautilus. The Nautilus Prime, which is also really good with its cordon. And you can also use any type of abilities like Larva. I think Larva was my favorite one because it is really quick as it pulls in enemies very fiercely towards the middle. And then you can also do Vazarin because Vazarin's second ability has the Void Snare, which grabs enemies within, I think, 8 meters again, and it brings them all to the middle very vigorously. So these are all really nice. Vazarin and the Larva are my favorite ones, but for this showcase, I will showcase Wisp with the Larva build. And one last thing that happened this update, or a previous update, I'm not very sure when this got fixed, but Empowered Blades work again. Now, I don't know if anyone has seen this aura mode ever. Many of you probably haven't, but it reads squad receives plus 60% status chance and status damage on heavy attacks, but lose 90 shields per hit. Now, status chance is already really good, but the status damage is obviously what we really need, and 90 shields per hit doesn't really matter because we can regen them, and Arcane Circumvent can really take advantage of that. So let's see how this looks like with something like the Tenet Livia. So we will spawn in normal corrupted heavy gunners because we need non-Eximus units to actually group them. And the idea is simple. You cast Larva, that's true, and then just melee. And the gas procs, even without any combo or anything, can go so unbelievably high that they one-shot the entire group of enemies regardless of level or anything with pretty much any gun. And as you can see, even without heavy attacking, this is still very effective. Tennokai just makes it extremely effective in general. So a build like this can be done with any single melee weapon that you like. And not only gas is very effective, but blast is also very effective. So let's take a look at something like the Tack and Lug, for example. The Tack and Lug is a weapon that has a unique trait that its heavy attacks hits a wide area inflicting blast status effects. Now, the great thing about this is that it hits the blast status effect 4 times instead of just once like every other weapon. And this weapon, it's already really good with influence, but here it's just extremely funny. So if we charge up the Disciplined Merit and we heavy attack, we get fireworks. It's really cool. Now, obviously, I know I'm on the Simulacrum for way too long. I will go in the mission, but I want to show you examples that pretty much anything and everything will work. The Gyre Prime, a weapon that I don't really use anymore because the Falcor is way better, will resurface, especially because I have a really good ribbon for it, but it will resurface as one of the weapons that I pick. Because the guaranteed bleed proc on it, and the occasional blast proc you get, can result in some pretty funny numbers when paired with this. Now, without any stacks, it won't look as fancy, for sure. It will be like pretty mid. So, you know. But once you do get stacks, and you have those 6x combo working with, then you get something like this, which is very cool. So yeah, obviously I tried pretty much anything when it comes to melee weapons, anything and everything. I even tried exalted melees like Korra, Gara, Excalibur, Baruch. They are all extremely effective with this. There are some guns that work better than others, and some guns that this combo is honestly the best. One of those guns, or the weapons, is the Tenet Agendas, which you go for gas and electric with this type of setup. And with this, you can easily replicate the exact same thing as before. Just like the Gyre Prime, the first time it won't be that strong until you get your stacks up. But the second time, one heavy attack is more than enough to one-shot this entire group of enemies. So you go like this, heavy attack, and they're all dead. Incredible. And this is for the Agendas, a weapon that normally it doesn't really do that much damage with its gimmick, but because of this, its gimmick now gets way stronger. So really cool. And then one final weapon I will showcase on the sim, because I really think it's strong as hell, is the Redeemer. Because gunblades and things that have multi-shot in general from the melee category, they gain multiple hits every time you hit someone, which stacks Discipline's Merit pretty much instantly. Now, I know you saw a Doty build there, and if you're curious on what that is, then watch Build Pioneers on it. But when we are looking at something like this with Careen, you see one hit charges the heavy attack, and then the heavy attack itself inflicts blast procs, which can do really funny stuff, especially when stacked. So now that we have the stacks, if we try to do the same exact thing, we get this. Very cool. So yeah, melee Careen, Arcane Circumvent, a very insane combo, and you can use this on pretty much any Warframe you like. It's very beneficial to you. Empowered Blades, not needed, but definitely a nice boost, especially if your Warframe has a way of regaining the shields. But there was one Warframe that also really loved this combo in general for playing with their abilities, and that was Gyre. So Gyre, you know, I absolutely love Gyre in general, and specifically Conductive Sphere and damage or weapon buffing Gyre is one of my favorite things to do in this game, and I've taken it to level cap many times, both with Roar and with Evade. It's extremely effective. However, a no subsumed Gyre build for ability damage Gyre is now really strong. Like, extremely strong. Because this combination of melee Careen and Arcane Circumvent now enables Gyre's ability better. Because here too groups enemies, and then you can dash through the enemies twice to armor strip them and gain their resistances. So your ability of dashing isn't just to like use something like, let's say, what do you call it? Rolling guard, yeah, that's what I'm thinking. You don't need to just rolling guard everything. You can simply dash through them, and that adds damage to your abilities, because it armor strips them and steals the resistances for you. It is really good, and because Gyre already has herself a grouping tool through her second ability that is very strong, this becomes incredible. And as you can see, even without any type of priming, these guys are just screwed completely. Level 200 heavy gunners. With nothing, just the press of the second ability and the first ability once. It is really insane. I love it. I love it. So, with that out of the way, I'm sure a lot of you can find out more combinations on this, and I'm sure a lot of you thought Frost could be amazing with this, especially if you find some kind of grouping tool. But it is honestly, you know, it is really ridiculously good. Legit. So I'm gonna go on to actual missions now to showcase some of the rest of the stuff, because I played with this Arcane a lot. This is Arcanes like this and combos like these are by far my favorite thing to do on Warframe. Finding out unique combos that work together to provide incredible results in general. So I'm gonna take my Kavat here. I will still keep the Larva build because I really enjoy playing it that way. And yeah, we're gonna showcase some of the melee weapons. Let's start with... what do we start with? Let's do the Nepheri. Because the Nepheri, in case you guys are not aware, it has a special melee attack on its regular combo where you spit fire on a line that passes through everyone and gets buffed multiplicatively by Gancio. So that is gonna be fun to showcase. Make sure I have my Arcanes on my Arcane. Perfect. And let's go. So as I said, because of Arcane Circumvent, you can play on any type of mission you want, and this is incredible. If they have any type of Eximus, you steal the Eximus Overguard. If they have any type of shield, you steal part of the shield and you shield gate like that. If they have any type of armor, you simply get the armor and you tank, in the case of Wisp or some other health tank. It is really strong as an Arcane in general. And when combined with melee Careen and some grouping tool, it can be an insane offensive Arcane to pair. So let's showcase some of it. So press 4, dash through them, and then just do that, and they're gone. And because you may say, yeah, but I need to use a grouping tool. There are grouping tools that are completely free to use, like Magus Anomaly, and the grouping tool that I'm using right now with, let's say, you want to use something like Larva. Larva only costs 25 energy. It's very cheap. So it's really good with this. You don't need something crazy for this. Just Larva, go through, and just let them die. And the gas procs, because they linger, they can kill on their own for other enemies. Let's say we're in a corridor, we do it over there. And then I dash with these guys. And I get a melee attack on someone. The gas procs will now be able to kill on their own. Which is the reason why gas was so popular. Popular back in the day for two reasons. First of all, it did obscene amount of damage. Especially later on because it could headshot. And second of all, it would help by killing enemies on its own and providing extra AoE. Because obviously Blast was not a thing back in the day as well. So yeah, even without any type of damaging abilities, this combination is incredible. It is honestly quite incredible. And you also get an Arcane from your Warframe that steals Overguard. Very cool. So yeah, absolutely love it. I chose this mission on purpose to show that even if we have something like an Eximus Stronghold, you can still make this work very easily without a grouping tool being as effective because enemies have the overguard to avoid the grouping tool. Proof of concept. So, gonna abort mission to sell more guns, but this is definitely something that everyone should look into. And if you want to click off the video now and you don't care about any of the other guns, you want to experiment yourself, go ahead. I think this is the best way to learn how to do this technique and how to actually abuse it properly. But for the others, I want to see more examples on this to try and get convinced better, because obviously a lot of people will be like, but melee influence is still in the game, so why would I ever do this? You know, I can understand that, but I am still here to try and change your mind. Some of the more interesting stuff now. First of all, the Bala Zo. This was a surprise to me, because for some reason, Exodia Force, I tried it with both Blast and Gas, and they were both really funny. I'm gonna show Blast because, yeah. Exodia Force, it kind of works inside the group, and it just multiplies the damage over and over. So it works pretty disgusting with this combination, not gonna lie. Like, we're gonna see it in action, but I'm not sure what's happening with Exodia Force and this Arcane, and obviously, you know, it buffs the amount you get the amount of damage, but it's still, like, it's still super weird. The amount of damage is abnormal completely. And it actually rivaled the Innodem's damage when I was using like the Innodem normally when I tried this combination, which is really weird. You would never expect something to be as good as an Innodem as a dagger, for sure. The Innodem is like on a league on its own when it comes to daggers. Regardless, if we hit these enemies, yeah, they just disappear. I don't know. I really don't know. The damage is... What is happening here, you know? You just... Huh? Genuinely, what is happening? I don't even get to heavy attack because these enemies are too weak for this combo. And obviously, if I use it normally, you're seeing this. This isn't the strongest gun ever. Like, its damage is okay. It's only when it's paired with melee Careen and the combo that it's actually just... doing that. Yeah. Very cool. Thank you, melee Careen and Circumvent. Holy shit. Yeah, the damage is nuts. I don't know, like this Bala just absolutely decimated everyone. It's so good. Like, holy... Look at that! That is incredible. And like, even if I'm playing like this and I'm pausing and I'm showcasing all of this, I still have way more than 100 KPM, which is really funny, right? Like, I'm basically going AFK half the time, just casually playing this, showcasing the damages. I still get over 100 kills per minute very easily with this. It's disgusting. It's honestly just stupid. I love it. So yeah, that's one of the combos. That's Bala for you. And obviously you can do this with any other Zo. I just had a Bala and it was by far the best one when I saw, follow through wise, you have 90% follow through because it's a dagger. And I also had the best kind of grips and Zos on it because I was using it for something like Melee Dodi back in the day, and these actually worked pretty good for it. But, with Melee Careen in the game now, I took the chance to actually try this, and it worked flawlessly. it's so good. So definitely look out for Zoas with this Arcane, because they get quite stinky. And speaking of stinky, the other Zoa that I could showcase is Dokram, because the Dokram, they have the Rending Crane stance as they are a heavy blade. And Melee Careen Exodia Hunt, this works with every hit of the default combo of Rending Crane. Every hit can proc this, which is pretty much a free grouping tool. You don't even need anything else. This is your free grouping tool this time. So that's pretty cool. I'm gonna showcase that real quick, because I think that's also a pretty good combination. If you know of a weapon that can proc Exodia Hunt consistently, that can be your grouping tool directly onto your melee weapon to feed onto Melee Careen and Arcane Circumvent, which is pretty amazing. So, this Arcane combination has cost me a lot of plat. I used to be at like 300. And honestly, I don't really mind it, because it has brought me some incredible combinations. So, I know I did this, but whatever. I forgot. Regardless. If I go down here and I just hold E without moving, you see how they are all like grouped with me? Immediately? It pulls them in. On its own. Every time. It has no cooldown. So this is like completely free if you do it. There. Every time. And then Melee Careen procs and it boosts the gas proc damage and it just keeps going on its own. Very cool. Look at that. that is so nice. It basically feeds into itself. Such a good combo. You don't even need to do anything crazy. You just melee and then dash and that's it. Peak. I'm not sure why it does this, but I don't complain, This is really good. Now, you could probably find a small corridor tiles in this instead of this big open one that has all the enemies up there to find like a better use out of this, but you can see the vision, right? It's really interesting. And Dokram, I found to be the best to try this, because obviously the Rending Crane stance is just no-brainer. You just hold E and every hit can proc the Exodia Hunter game, which is really cool. Now, some other stuff. One of them that will be very interesting to people will be the Vitrica. A lot of people that I was in a Discord call with and I showed this weapon, they were like, what the hell is that? Because they had genuinely never seen it before. This is a really cool looking weapon, first of all. I gotta say, the design of this weapon is absolutely incredible. So this is Nihil's sword. If you don't know who Nihil is, if you go to Nightwave, there will be some weeks that you will be able to enter Nihil's Oubliette. This is just the... Is this the actual thing? You have a thing that says enter it, but I guess you could also use the decoration, right? You probably could. I'm honestly not sure. Oh look, Photon Overcharge. Interesting. Photon Overcharge up for grabs this week, by the way. Is Dark Sword up? Nope, Dark Dagger is up. Okay, well, that sucks. If both of them were up, that would be pretty cool. Regardless, Vitrica is Nihil's sword, and Vitrica is a very interesting weapon that I had her even for a long time on it. And honestly, it's just I really love its gimmick. So its gimmick is that when you do aerial attacks, you glass enemies for 7 seconds, and any type of slam attack fires projectiles that shatters glassed enemies with bleed procs. So this is gonna be interesting to showcase. I will try my best, but I don't promise that enemies won't die before the bleed procs actually happen. So I had two ways of actually doing it, and I will explain both of them as I do, because I think this is one of the stronger weapons to use it with this combination, and it benefits from it greatly, because those bleed procs combine with all the gas procs and just feed into each other, and it becomes pretty crazy. But it is still, you know, a very underused weapon, and the mechanic is still very weird. So the idea is, you know, we group, we do the aim glide and do this, go through them, and then do the front combo where it slams attacks twice like that, and that provides the glass projectile. You see that? So if you do that forward block combo with Rending Crane, we get the glass projectile on the second slam. So that's the idea. Now, because they're doing like this, you know, this takes a bit of setup, obviously, but the result is pretty incredible. And obviously, if you get something like Tenokai while you're hitting them, you can also do a heavy slam attack. But you most likely won't have that. But yeah, if you do heavy slam attack, that also works, as you can see. So yeah, really cool. The projectile is similar to the Siam's projectile, and on its own, it doesn't deal nearly as enough damage as the Siam. It's really bad, actually. But when it's used with this combo, and you do everything properly, this can be really strong. In general, very cool weapon. And I feel like, you know, you could make it even better if you went directly for slam with this combo. Maybe. There is definitely ways to do it. I like this, so I went with this. But I can see heavy slam attack working way better. Just straight up pressing. Well, let's try it. Even though I don't have a build, you know, you press 4, you do this, you go Circumvent on them, and then you slam. Yeah, see, that's also pretty good. That's also quite good. So, yeah, if you want to do some crazy slam shenanigans with this, you can easily do that, and it looks absolutely incredible. The damage is nuts because it slams, it does a gas proc, and then all the glass shards, you know, they all explode onto one with that. And yeah. The numbers do go crazy, man. I don't know what to say. They do go crazy. So Vitrica definitely a winner of this Arcane, and it's a weapon that's not really used almost ever and forgotten in time, and I really love the design of it, so I'm really happy that it actually can get some recognition. And after I tried this, I am definitely gonna change my build and go for something more of a slam attack build, because I think that's gonna work way better in the end. Because yeah, I do have a good reason for slam attacking. I should take advantage of it regardless. So I'm gonna show a few more here. I think Innodem will be a very cool one. I know a lot of people really love to use the Innodem in general with either animosity or influence. It's really strong. But a lot of people also like using the aerial projectiles you get from his encounter form. So this is where I am. And obviously this build right here, it doesn't really care about that at all. But you will see that regardless of that, this still works pretty fine in general. So if we take this, we go to the void again. We're gonna see this in action, and we're gonna see that even though I haven't built for it almost at all, those projectiles are still gonna shred those enemies and 100 to 0 them very quickly because of the combination. So yes, Careen Arcane Circumvent is an insane combo. It has revived gas damage as we know it and as it was back in the day at its peak. 100%. It's so good as a combination, and the damage can get absolutely crazy. And yeah, in general, you should definitely give it a try. I'm trying to get encountered from. There we go. So now, do this. Dash through, and yeah. Pretty decent. You know, it's all right. It does the job, right? it's okay. Yeah. Yeah, the gas proc will tick here for a decent amount. Not bad. Dude, this is a crazy spot for this actually, because they fall onto the gas procs immediately after. If I had something like maxed out to like put this thing over there and then just let people walk onto the gas procs, this could be a really high kill per minute strat right there. That's a really good combo. Anyway, yeah, I will try to not take the video to last much longer, because who's gonna click at a 1 hour video explaining one arcane, right? But I think 35 minutes is more than good enough, so let's try to aim for that. So let's do any weapon, as you can see and as you can tell by now, will work with this 100%. But let's do one more, shall we? What do we do? I wanted to do Ruvox, but I don't have the Evos yet, so that will have to wait. I tried the Doorclave with its 100% follow through, and it's absolutely crazy. But one weapon that really surprised me, like, it's incredible with this, actually. The Sampotes. This weapon is beloved by the community, and the slam community thinks this is one of the best slam weapons in the game, especially now that the slam attacks were nerfed. This was basically untouched. And that is true, but the damage wasn't ever anything too crazy unless you had a Riven mod. If you had a Riven mod, the damage could go absolutely wild. But most of the time, it would just knock enemies up into the air and they would just survive, which is not what you want, really. But now, with this, things changed. Drastically, in fact. This can now kill anything and anyone up to level cap with the gas procs. It is pretty ridiculous on how strong this became. And I had tried it before, and I can show you that the damage that it does, you know, normally, isn't anything too crazy. Although these are kind of low level 120 Steel Path units. Like, yeah, sure. I can see it one-shotting them still if I do just that. It's like, okay, it does 1,000, 3,000, it's... Yeah. It did 9k to that guy, so, you know, it can maybe kill them sometimes, but... If we do this, right, and we now do the slam, this just absolutely decimates them. Like, this goes so much harder than it should. Incredible. Absolutely incredible. So yes, Sampotes with Careen and Circumvent is definitely a play. And it's a very good play at that. It's very strong. Surprisingly to me, but maybe not to you. The Arcane combo is broken in general, so I'm not really surprised. But at the same time, because of its large AoE, this was a really, really good thing to see from this. I really liked the idea, and finally, Sampotes, especially with gas, can be very, very strong. So yeah, I'm gonna showcase one last thing before I leave. Not because it's broken or anything, but because I am not 100% certain if this is the case. And I want more inputs on if people, you know, want to try it and figure out if this is the case on the comment section below. Because from my testing and my understanding, I think it works, but I am not 100% sure, and I'll show you why. So, if we go to another beloved hammer weapon, the Jat Kittag, it has the special mode of Vulcan Blitz. And I don't know if you remember, at some point I made a video about the Tenadetron being buffed by secondary Shiver directly, increasing the damage that it has on its thermomagnetic shells, or whatever the mode was called, right? And I think Vulcan Blitz has the same thing with melee Careen, which in melee Careen's case, this is 2.5 times damage. It is way larger than secondary Shiver. So I will show you real quick what it does, and you know, you be the judge. So we do this, dash through, and boom. they all just explode immediately through Jat Kittag's thing. So I have tried to kind of isolate them and see if it still works that way somehow. I couldn't really get something to be a consistent test to see if this actually works. But the damage numbers are so high. These enemies do not have 3 million health ever. So seeing 3 million damage from the Jat Kittag explosions definitely seems like this would get buffed. But as I said, I am not 100% sure, and if someone is a fan of this weapon and they want to look more into it, definitely do, because if that is true, then that is an extremely broken combination that everyone should try and take advantage of. Thank you very much for watching another video of mine. I hope you enjoyed this combination video a bit more, since the last video was pretty disappointing. Because, you know, Arcane Persistence didn't even have any kind of synergies that I could look into aside from Nidus' 3 taking less damage. It was pretty disappointing, to me as well. So I hope this makes up for it. Thank you very much, and I'll see you on the next video.